So the Black Business Hub has certainly been a journey for us, and we've been able to move that project forward. From the code now to moving inside, because we have the core and the shell done, and we've got many core tenants there. And so we've been able to host many events in the atrium and help bring other tenants into the building. The first tenant in the building was Summit Credit Union, and they have a branch that will become full service there as people come in. We have the Women's Business Initiative Corporation, WIBIC, in the building. We have the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation in the building. We have the Black Chamber of Commerce in the building. We have Safe Communities in the building, Forward Community Investment, Hope Community Capital. With all those entities in the building, we have more economic supports for small businesses and brown and black businesses than any other building in the state. So our goal is to not just be brick and mortar, but to be a place for those businesses to have access to capital. And we've been able to make 50 grants, not 50 grants, but 5 grants for $50,000 each to businesses through our partnership with the Together We Build Fund and a good friend, Jan O'Neill. But we've also been able to leverage access to capital with Summit Credit Union and Park Bank to help businesses that might not typically be bankable but needing to build relationships. We've been able to partner with Generator and also began our G Alpha and G Beta training. So we've trained over 50 or so people already, businesses already, and many of them will be doing pop-up events and other types of events at our hub. Hopefully in the month of May, we'll begin our pop-up events for businesses to sell their wares at the hub. And so we're expecting at least a minimum of 45 pop-up events starting sometime in May and ending in September. Our fourth floor is our co-working space on the fourth floor is ready to go, and lots of folks have used that. This weekend, the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated will be having a Kappa Derby up there, so there'll be bourbon and cigar matching on the roof and lots of stuff. So if you haven't got your ticket, you better get them because they're going pretty fast. And so they still have a few VIP tickets left. So there's a lot going on in that space. We expect this to be a space with an ecosystem to deal with businesses at multiple levels of their development. Our commercial kitchen in the basement is ready, and we hope to accommodate maybe 60 or so businesses there. We know that this is not going to just impact the hub, but it's impacting that entire neighborhood. We believe that there's a renaissance going on in South Madison. We were proud to be in attendance the other day at Centro Hispano and watched Dr. Menendez, open up Centro Hispano for folks. We're excited about what's going to happen with the Center of Black Excellence when they break ground, here. So there's some really exciting things going on in Madison. So it's definitely a pleasure to work with MadREP and to serve on their Madison's Regional Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy team. And this MadREP and this partnership has done some great things. So Jason, I'm definitely excited to hear about your 5-year plan. And I know I got way off the script, so Jason is looking at his script saying, where did he go?
I'm looking at you. Listen, you all, I know what he's going to say, and nowhere is it written, him mentioning his fraternity and how cool and good they are.
Well, it is the best fraternity, right?
Shots fired. No, you all know Ruben and I, Doc, the fraternity thing is something we bond over, and for him to be in the second best fraternity, that's cool. No, it's been great to have this moment to discuss the new comprehensive economic development strategy, elevate Madison region, especially with you and other esteemed members on the steering committee who helped us do a 2-day SWOT analysis from all 8 counties and various sectors in industry about where we want to go the next 5 years. And let me extend my gratitude to all those members, yourself, Doc, you and your team, for the invaluable contributions. Your dedication and insight have been pivotal in shaping this plan for our region. Earlier today, as we touched a little bit on the SEDS, I have to say I'm genuinely excited about diving a little bit deeper. And for those of you who may not, you hear this language, SEDS, Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, that's the game plan for where do we plan to go? Where do we plan to be? What are our strengths, weaknesses? What are opportunities and threats for our 8-county region? And how do we move forward over the next 5 years? And that strategy is not just a document that you hear about and then you forget that it's being done. It is a roadmap and a blueprint, and everybody has to be involved. I can't say this enough, and team, forgive me for being off the script, but we have to get over this issue of working in silos. Because if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. And all of us need to be at a point where we work together to move this region forward. I hate to sound cliche, but a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, the way we do that is by coming together, not alienating each other, because it's not us, Madison versus Fitchburg versus Verona. Guys, it's us versus North Carolina Research Triangle. It's us versus Boston, Massachusetts. It's us versus the global world. So this is not time for us to pick and choose to be favorites and only cool with each other. This is we all sink or we all swim together. And me and my team are very adamant about that and making sure that we move this region based off a game plan, based off of information and data that you can measure to success. And so the implementation of this is truly a collaborative effort requiring engagement and partnership. And MadREP, we're honored to serve as the lead strategic planning, the keystone for this function. And let me say again, this is not something that you all look and say, well, that's MadREP's job. They're the only ones to do that. No, this is a family thing. We all do this because we're all impacted by the growth and economics of this region. That's everybody. So now I want to tell you about how you'll be hearing from me on our progress each year. An important aspect of our work with the SEDS involves the annual performance report required by the Economic Development Administration. Due to our Economic Development District designation, these reports are more than just updates. They're opportunities to reflect and recalibrate and allow us to assess our progress towards the strategic direction and the plan we've laid out. The framework is designed to focus on impact rather than effort. To that end, we've identified core performance measures such as demographic trends, labor force participation rates, creation of high and average wage jobs, improvements in earnings, access to quality child care, internet subscriptions, and educational attainment. Additionally, we're paying close attention to regionally unique performance measures like the availability of shovel-ready business park sites, the size of biohealth sector, carbon dependency, leadership development, diversity, and the demographics of business ownership. These measures are not just numbers, everybody. They represent real changes in the lives of our residents and the health of our businesses. Through Elevate Madison Region, we're committed to fostering a thriving, inclusive, and sustainable economy that benefits everyone in South Central Wisconsin. And once again, Doc, I want to thank you and all the steering committee members present today. Your hard work and vision have set us on the path to success. I look forward to working alongside you as we bring this ambition plan to life. Doc, your leadership at the Urban League's innovative approach to tackling some of the community's most persistent issues have been truly inspirational. And I think, I mean this when I say this to you, your leadership has been very vital for me, particularly to learn and grow from tactically, from strategically, and dare I say even spiritual components, man. And I don't think we give you enough credit for all of that you give, particularly to young black men coming up. So thank you, bro.
Appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So your leadership in the Urban League's innovative approach, tackling some of our community's most persistent issues, have been truly inspirational. Earlier, you mentioned the D3 campaign, Defer Democracy, Demand Diversity, and Defeat Poverty. This initiative is a testament to you and the organization's commitment and innovative approach to social change. Could you share with us how the campaign is conceptualized and the impact it's made so far?
Thank you, Jason. Hey, and one of the things I just want to comment too, I've learned a lot from you. You know, you don't just learn from older people. Young people have a lot of to contribute, you know, and even in organizations, even if you're the leader of the organization, people can manage or teach up, and that certainly has happened in my organization in the Urban League, and I've learned a lot from you and your staff, so thank you for that. So about the D3 campaign, Defend Democracy, Demand Diversity, and Defeat Poverty, it is rooted in the National Urban League long-standing commitment to civil rights and social justice. The commitment has evolved to meet the challenges of our time. This initiative emerged as a response to what we perceive as an unprecedented assault on the progress of equal rights in America. The inception of the D3 was driven by a clear recognition of the multifaceted threats facing our communities, not just here in Madison, but across the nation. From undermining our democracy and our democratic institutions to voter suppression, to the backlash against diversity and inclusion policies, and the persistent barriers to economic opportunities. These challenges demanded a robust, comprehensive response. The campaign is an extension of the Urban League Fight for You initiative, which gained momentum during COVID. So our approach to the D3s, one is to mobilize support for critical legislation, including the Freedom to Vote Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, we must keep our democracy intact for the next generation. That is a mandate for a better future for our kids and our grandkids. I got 8 grandkids, and I want to help try to make this a better place for them as they get older. And the efforts to ensure that economic justice through efforts like earned income tax credits and child tax credits, those are other things that we need to fight for. The D3 campaign represents a new fight in our civil rights, our fight for civil rights and our fight for social justice. And so we have to know that we have to change our strategies as the adversities change in this country and as the attacks mount on civil rights and social justice programs. We are no longer just fighting overt racism like Jim Crow, but we're fighting more subtle racism. And so, you know, Mark Morial refers to the racism that we're fighting today is the son of Jim Crow, is Jimmy Crow, he says, and that Jimmy Crow or any type of crow, we don't have tolerance for it today. This initiative is more about defending the gains of the past. We've gained a whole lot. I was just participating on a panel or moderating a panel where we were talking about, you know, is DEI dead? We saw what the Supreme Court has done, and no, it's not dead. It makes sense. There's a strong value proposition for continuing down this path. We have to continue down the path of justice and equality into the future. We have to continue to fight a good fight, you know, not just for us, but for the next generation. Jason, I know your team has launched your USDA revolving loan fund since we were last together. Can you tell us a little bit more about that project?
Thanks, Doc. It's a pleasure to announce to you all that since our last time together, we've launched our what we call our revolving loan fund, sort of our rural fund. And our primary goal with this RLF is to fuel growth of entrepreneurs and burgeoning businesses across the Madison region, specifically targeting Dane County, Columbia County, Dodge, Iowa, Greene, Jefferson, Rock, and South counties. The fund is a testament to our commitment to fostering economic development, because typically there's 2 things. One, in urban areas, and I'll say this, you know, it's not just about access to capital, it's also the technical training, and it's also the holistic approach to meet people where they're at. A number of programs that I see are, and dare I say it, garbage, because, you know, you have to have a holistic approach. You can't do technical assistance with no capital. It doesn't make sense. You can't do capital but no assistance. It doesn't make sense. If you truly want to figure this out and truly get this thing right, you have to have a holistic approach where you're taking access to capital with the techniques and the training to understand how to grow that capital and produce sustainable jobs and grow the region. And then you also have to do the things that are not talked about in academia or in a number of government programs. You got to get down to the nitty gritty, the spiritual component, the mentality that if you're going to do business, you have to understand this is not a cakewalk. Business is not fun. It's hard work. And too many times, and I know I'm going off script, team, but the Lord is using me right now. You know, because I've sat here for years and I've watched this nonsense happen. And it's no reason why we're not getting, it's the reason why we're not getting anywhere. We're not designing this stuff the right way. And so we hand out millions of dollars and then we think something is supposed to happen when you haven't educated folks to learn how to manage that business. You haven't made the steadfast synopsis or analysis of whether or not some of these folks should be in business in the first place. So if we really want to be serious about this stuff, then it's time to have to come to Jesus meeting and get this stuff right. Mm-hmm. Now, the revolving loan fund.
All right, preacher.
I just hear my wife, what did you do? The revolving loan fund is designed to offer gap financing, and this means it fills the void that might exist between traditional lending and the things that are actually needed to move a business forward. So looking ahead, our enthusiasm for the revolving loan fund to potentially catalyze transformation in ideas that has no boundaries of success. Because one of the things we want to do is, you all, again, my mission is to make sure that our competition is not one another. It's not the other 7 counties. It's us versus North Carolina. It's us versus Boston. When we get that in our heads, we will move like a team, which is one of the reasons why I wanted Leroy Butler up here, because you have to move as a team if you want to win. No one can do it alone. And so I'm pleased to announce that we gave a loan to 7 Acre Dairy in Paoli, Wisconsin. And I'm very proud of that, you all. If you haven't had a chance to go to Paoli, Wisconsin and visit 7 Acre Dairy, you are missing a great atmosphere, environment, and business. Because over one weekend, they had 20,000 people come through the door.
Wow.
I'm sorry, that's a great investment for MadREP. So we're eager to not just talk about that fund, but in the near future, we're going to be talking about more funds. Because with access to capital, training, and the component that empowers people to have a real come to Jesus, is this something I should be doing? Then we can really start to get this thing right. And I'm going to say this before I turn it over, Doc. And, you know, if some of you all get upset, I'm sorry. It got to be said. I'm so sick of us all thinking that black barbershops and people of color restaurants is the only thing that we can do. That's so low level. It's not only low level, it is offensive. Because when you regulate us to just 1 or 2 industries, what you're saying is you don't believe we have biohealth professionals in our community. You don't believe we have people who can run construction companies in our community. You don't believe that we have people who can create AI platforms and software in our community. Hence, you designed all the programs and the fundings for low-tier economic businesses. So when a diversity or something drastic happens, we're not building a community. Because guess what happens economically when we have a downturn? A COVID-19 or economic recession comes, I can guarantee you, and no offense to these places, but it's not barbershops that's going to be taking care of our community. It is the people who are in nursing and healthcare. It is the people who have technology jobs. It is the people that are professionals who have enough disposable income to continue to make them communities thrive. If we are not doing that, then what are we doing? Sorry, Doc. Now back to you.
Scratch that from the record. No. Thank you, Jason. So next we're going to introduce our next speaker. I'm honored to introduce Shiva Badar Silef from our co-presenting sponsor, UW Health. Shiva embodies the spirit of community service and healthcare excellence that the UW Health is renowned for. Her leadership and dedication has been pivotal in fostering a health system that not only excels in medical innovation, but also deeply commits to community well-being and inclusiveness. UW Health, under Shiva's guidance, has been a vital partner in our endeavors, especially in the area of health intersects with economic development and community support. Their sponsorships and collaboration and initiatives like ours underscore a shared vision of healthier, more vibrant community for all. Please give Shiva Badar Seeliff a true and warm welcome for what she does in this community and more.
Good afternoon, buenas tardes. I will stay on script. Thank you so much. UW Health is really, really proud to continue to be a presenting sponsor for this wonderful event. Thank you, Dr. Anthony, and thank you, Jason, for all the work that you do to really highlight the intersection of economic development, diversity, equity, and inclusion for our community, for its present and for its future. UW Health, you all kind of think you know because you see our signs, but we are the largest employer for Dane County. We are really a huge engine in economic well-being for our community, in addition to your health and health outcomes. So really for us, this is a really important work to support and to continue to support. And we feel very proud to have great authentic partnerships with the Urban League of Greater Madison and with MadREP as we continue to invest in our community and to invest in a workforce that really is representative of all of our communities. With that, I have the great honor of introducing our keynote. Michelle G. is the founder and CEO of Expectant Media, a Black woman-owned media company that connects clients to the Black audiences that fuel their growth while elevating other Black-owned media. She has worked for some of the most powerful media companies in the world, generating more than $1 billion in revenue. Michelle served as CEO of Ebony and Jet, where she helped revive the iconic brand. She has also worked for the Allen Media Company, the Weather Channel, CNN, A&E, the History Channel, and BET Networks. While at BET, Michelle created and ran the first and only network for Black women, BET Her. Michelle resides in New Jersey and is a proud wife of husband Tony and honored to be the mom of Taylor and Jordan. Michelle's mission is simple: lead people, transform communities, and drive revenue. Please join me in welcoming Michelle to the stage. Thank you so much.
All right, can you guys hear me? First of all, I make a joke about this. I look like my picture, right? Okay, good. I don't want you to say, who the hell is that? All right. Is this mine, Jack? It is, okay, great. How's everyone doing? How did I get the after lunch, after these two, this show they put on, after a football player who won the Super Bowl? It's all good. I'm gonna try and bring you something. I brought some visuals to keep you guys engaged. So listen, we're gonna be talking about, we have to reframe our outcome. And I'm gonna give you some things about my journey. Hopefully they apply to you. I think it's gonna be good. So I'm the greatest salesperson on earth. I mean, somebody has to feel that way. My family judged me like, Michelle, we don't even know how you do this all day. Anyway, so I have a question for you. So who in here are salespeople? Raise your hand. Who sells something? Exactly. If you're not selling something, you're not going to be successful. You don't understand your company's mission. You don't know how to make money. You don't know how to move things forward. You literally have no future if you don't understand whether you sit in the front office, back room, you answer a phone, you sweep the floor, gather the mail, you sell something. You sell something. And I learned this a long time ago. So you sell who you are, right? I don't like to do it, but sometimes you just have to tell people, Google me, when they acting up, when they don't let you in, when the teacher's acting crazy. You just gotta say, Google me. What wasn't part of my title is now I'm the chairman of the board for a little tiny digital startup called Players TV, and my partners are Chris Paul and Kyrie Irving and Carmelo Anthony, and yeah, all of them. So I'm at basketball games. Oh, what's up, Melo? How you doing? I was like, yeah, you should have let me in. I shouldn't have waited in line. You can put the slide back up, Jack. Products and services, right? We're selling that. Ideas, but when we sit in a room like this, we're selling dreams and hope. Now, how do you measure dreams and hopes? It's hard to do. And I come from a business where you have to measure, because where there is measurement, there's a flow of money, opportunity, funding. And when you don't have that, how do you continue to go to somebody and say, seed into this? Give me more. We're going to talk about that today because I have a few ideas I brought, but you got to start shifting how you think about things. And I've been on a 58-year journey coming up. So I want to talk about the power of storytelling. And I'm going to tell a couple stories. Mine's going to be better than Leroy's. Leroy ain't got nothing on me. He's not here, right? Any Leroy's friends here? Don't tell him I said that. Don't tweet that. Don't post that. I'm just joking. But let me tell you what storytelling does. It's about influencing someone to make a decision that benefits you. That benefits you, your company, your family, your kids, your community. That's all it is. And I learned this as a little girl in Oakland, California. We're going to talk about this, but I like to research stuff, and we're going to talk about how important data is. So there was this neuroscience scientist, Uri Hansen, from Princeton, and what he did is did all this research on the brain, and what he found out is that when you tell a story, when you connect with somebody, there is a bond that is built that cannot be taken down. It's memorable. And when I learned that, I was like, okay, Michelle, you got to get a little better. I'll be practicing in the mirror, my little stories, my little stuff. But I learned that there are a couple elements. You got to ask and listen. I'm going to talk about that. You got to build a connection with people. You have to leverage experiences. I'm going to really drill down on that. And you got to use data. As soon as you throw a percentage in there, people are like, yeah. My husband's a banker. He works for Bank of America. As soon as I thought it, he's like, what was that percentage? Exactly. I got him. I was just talking about something. Like I say 52% when I bought that purse. Then it makes it feel better. So this is where we are right now, right? We're in an environment where we're talking about our pain because we're underpaid. We already know we're underfunded. We know that there's literal legislation that is trying to stop progress. Because if you can do it legislatively, there is no recourse. So we're living in our pain and trauma. But I say let's live in our power. Let's understand that there are communities that have so much spending power that every advertiser in the world wants to reach them. Let's talk about how we're creators and Instagram makes $5 billion a quarter on our IP. Let's talk about how we're influencers, but we're not getting paid, seen, invited to tables because we don't understand who we are. I won't preach today. I'm going to talk about power and prosperity. So this is my dad. He died at 59. I was about 30 years old, but he was the greatest salesperson, and then I inherited the gene. So at the age of 12, when there were no labor laws, he had me working in his community restaurant, washing dishes, cleaning chitlins. Who the hell has their child? It's traumatic. Does everyone know what chitlins are? Anyway, that's for another time. But he taught me something. He taught me how to listen. He taught me how to serve. And he taught me how to build relationships. At 12 years old, I would watch my dad, who owned this community restaurant on the corner of 106th and Bancroft. Every single person that came in, he would know their name, birthday, their wheelchair wasn't paid off, their insurance had lapsed. He would know their favorite meal. My grandmother was in the back, 80 years old, cooking every meal, but it taught me to look at people and see them. Not their job title, not the car they drive, but really them. It taught me how to build connections. I was getting numbers back then. I might need you one day. What's your number? What's your name? You a senator or what? I was paying attention, serving them, listening, and I built relationships that I still have in my Rolodex today. I stood on that corner and I paid attention, and we need to get back to that and understand the power in that. So that power built a lot of titles for me. I'm an author, speaker, I'm a prayer leader. We'll talk a little bit about that, amen. I always say, listen, this is my story. Nobody has to convert today. I'm a community servant. I have an honorary doctorate. I didn't, I'm not going to dig into it today, but I can just say in my 20s, I was really trifling. Grew up in Oakland, wasn't paying attention. It's just terrible. So I didn't graduate till I was 31, but I made up on the back end. I did okay. And the rest of these titles, but it really stemmed from that corner restaurant where I learned all of those lessons from my dad. And then I really started paying attention when I sat at tables. And I was invited to tables because I did some research. So when there's a community that's going to be 50% of the workforce, and we understand that black women watch more television than anybody else on the face of the earth. So that means what? They're serving ads to them all day long on multiple screens. We're the fastest growing entrepreneurs. We're creators and trendsetters. We have $200 billion in spending power. I know who I am, and I know why people want to reach me. I consume more social media. I'm a product talker. If one of my homegirls comes over and sees some lemonade in the refrigerator, she's going to tell everybody else she'd probably sold 100 bottles. But the point of that is that allowed me to sit at a table and create a network at a big conglomerate where they said no. And I said, but you must not know who we are. And you must not know that AT&T, Coca-Cola, UW Health, right, wants to reach her. And what I did is I turned a cause into a customer. I turned a cause into a customer. The most successful digital network in the Viacom family still today. So how did we do this? We ask and listen. So let me tell you a quick story. I grew up in Oakland, California, worked for a telephone company. It was a terrible job. Anyway, I was a tax accountant, and then I ran into the CMO. He's like, you need to be selling because you're just literally hilarious. So I got this sales job. I had to take a $100,000 pay cut until I got a commission. And I had this customer. He was it was just bad. He's like, no to everything. And I was staring at him like he was so adamant about his no. He worked for the city of Oakland. I wanted them to transform their telecom system. What we were offering was amazing. No. I'm like, I said, is this personal? He said, you guys turned off my telephone at home. The no was so, so when you ask and you listen and you pay attention to signs, it's like, it can't be he doesn't want this telephone system. He has something personally against us. And so when you're sitting in rooms and you're getting no's, you have to kind of dig sometimes. So I said, so listen, if I turn on your raggedy dial-a-phone like this, and give you 3 months of free service, will you buy this $1 million phone system? He said, tomorrow. Tomorrow. And he did. And I was a good seller. I learned so much. You can go to the next slide. So listen, you have to also leverage your experiences. We talk about this. So this is Taylor. Taylor in the 7th grade. Went to a private school, like one of those #1 schools, right? After track practice, Taylor runs up to the building. She's about to go in, and the security guard stops her and says, do you go to this school? And she's in her track. She's like, do I go to this? Yeah, I'm trying to get my backpack. And he said, prove it. He wanted to know the principal. He wanted to know the teachers. He literally wanted her to prove this. So Taylor went on to go to a high school, unranked. She literally just wanted to leave that school. She goes on to some random school, but she remembered that incident. So she became class president. She was the president of Jack and Jill's organization, but she was on the honor society, peer ministry. She knew that she had to make it undeniable for people not to say, do you belong here? Should you walk through this door? Prove it to me. Community service, she founded a cultural resource group at her school. And on December 1st, she made a decision. She said, you know what? I think I'm smart enough to apply to some big schools. December 1st, if anybody has a child, is the last day you can apply to a school. Last day. So she's like, I think I'm going to apply to this school. And we're like, where her parents were like, you definitely should apply to a school. She's like, I'm probably not going to get in. And I want you to know that when Harvard University said that you can come here, because when they read her essay and she used her experience, how the security guard wouldn't let her in, she said, I'm going to come to Harvard and make sure that doesn't happen for people like me. She said, because when it does, I'm going to create the organization that changes the perception. That essay on the last day, test optional. She doesn't play a sport. She did not turn in her SAT scores. And she does not have any family member that I know of in the history of the Jesus Thorns that ever went to Harvard University. So she's part of 1%. Because she was honest, because she used her experience, because she turned her cause into currency. She turned her cause into currency, like real currency. Because the people she hangs out with, they be like, Michelle G, Google me. So, so let's talk about the current environment, right? And I'm real clear about the words I use. We know that after George Floyd, there was a guilty payday. Because we know it was a guilty payday because we know it's all being reversed, right? We know it's being reversed. Money, contracts given out. I heard the other day that D&I stood for they don't deserve it. Didn't earn it. We didn't earn it. You mean when we built the country for free? When we came here and we didn't ask to come? You mean that when we're still underpaid and that people are monetizing everything we say and do? We're influencing societies and technology and generations, but we didn't earn it. I dare someone to say that. We've earned it. We're just not given what we're giving. The removal of Black history from schools. You guys know this. My daughter stood on a campus and her president was fired for this woman is so credentialed because she wasn't prepared appropriately to answer a question. And they were waiting for her, holding back funding. But when you don't own anything, you don't have no voice. I'm just going to keep it real. Go back to the slide for me, Jack. Fearless Fund. When you're getting money from an organization that's owned by people who don't want to hear what you have to say, then your funding stops, right? And now they're scraping diversity, equity, inclusion off of the government because that's been shut down. It's been shut down. So this is my daughter and her classmates walking down the street in Boston and someone wants to yell out the N-word. And I was like, wait, what? And I said, what did you do? She said, we laughed because they're going to work for us one day. So the world is bold in hate, and the world is bold in assumptions, right? Do you go to this school? The world is bold in derogatory labels. So this is what I want to tell you today, that we've been dreaming long enough, right? Dream, like in the 60s, dream. But now, can you just turn up a little bit? We got to prepare ourselves. We sit in rooms like this, and where do you take this when you're done? And so I played this song because, and that's why I don't like podiums. Podiums are for preachers, although I can't preach. I'm going to come down and preach a little bit. But because I really want you to hear me on this. That I worked in corporate America, and I see in rooms filled like this, and everybody leaves here and goes back to the same status quo, and nothing changes. And so my prayer was that God would change me first. Because it's easy to say, you change, and you change, and you change, and you change. But I said, let me change myself first. Right? Because if I do that, then I'm undeniable. Then I looked at myself in the mirror. I made myself better. I founded my company, and in 6 months have made $1 million. That's how Michelle G is going to get down, because I know nobody's going to give me anything. It's been proven to me. But when I do my research, when I ask questions, when I prepare and plan, not only myself, but the next generation, my son is amazing too. And my daughter's at Harvard, and my husband is an investment banker and a lieutenant colonel in the military. That's not luck, that's favor. That's preparation, right? And then I say to you guys, how are we going to execute when we leave here? Because everybody in this room can do something. Can do something. And I'm going to talk about exactly what that is. So let me just talk about expectant media. Woo, because it was just, I was so tired of working for someone bad. I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm like, I've worked my whole life and people don't have good intentions. I'm not going to say who it is. You can Google me and see who the last job I had. Anyway. And I literally questioned, why would God make me a salesperson? Because that's what I'm good at. I've transacted. I literally questioned, why would he make me a salesperson? And then I realized that everything is transacted. So now I started a company that I'm transacting for creators, big creators, because I've learned so many things on this journey. The number one thing I've learned is to gather insight. So let me talk about this, and I'm going to tell you why this is important. When you're sitting at tables and you're trying to get something done. When I was working for BET, they're getting ready to do this really big reorg, and they invited me to the meeting. And I said, I'm just going to come with one piece of data. So they're talking about it and talking about it and talking about this thing is going to take over this and this thing is going to take over this and you know and this and Viacom and MTV, and I was at BET and I said, but I have a question. Now McKinsey is the one asking the question because they're in the room. So I stayed up all night. I'd researched everything on McKinsey, every piece of research. So I just asked one question. Why are we reorging around them when if 35% of diverse people, if you have that in your organization, you're going to be more successful? And the room was just like this. It was so damn quiet. So why are we talking about how we're going to integrate into them instead of taking some of us and spreading us throughout the company to make them better? Okay, they made me the project, the whole thing, but my boss removed my name. But anyway, it just felt so good. But the point is, why are we sitting at tables and don't know who we're sitting in front of? Why are we not doing research? We're so busy in our day-to-day. We're so busy mired in details and operations that we're not even looking at the facts staring in front of us to get something done. And it's right there at our fingertips. We don't have to go to the yellow pages anymore. So this is what I did. I flipped black-owned media to black audiences. Let me tell you what I mean by that. There is a fight in the marketplace now. Give black media more money. Bring them to parity. Black media. And I'm like, and it's not getting any treadway. People are saying, okay, I'm going to commit 2% more. Okay, I'm going to make it 3%. And we're fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. And then I said, but I got black audiences. And that's going to help your revenue grow. And that's how my business got started. I changed the narrative. I shifted the framework to understand that I'm selling a currency. I'm selling an audience that you need in order to sell more products. So you can keep your job, CMO, as CEO, and head of operations and technology. Everything leads to the bottom line. And so that shift in mindset was something amazing because, do you guys know this? $900 billion is transacted from advertisers to reach communities. $900 billion a year. I want a little bit of that. What about y'all? Just a little bit. So they're spending that money through content, digital, YouTube, hence Instagram, making all this money. And if you look at it, 56% of those folks that are creating the content are of color. So why do we not have anything? Why are we asking for stuff? What's happening right now? And it just, it boggles my mind. So Expectant Media represents these 7 creators. Beverly Bond, Black Girls Rock. And I'm gonna talk about the business model. Sandra Pia built an amazing website, reaches 50 million unique touch points a month for people that were born in the diaspora but that live here. Untapped audience, spending money, building businesses, million billionaires. It's ridiculous. Deron Guidry, Players TV. Michelle Bailey created something called HBCU Honors. Amazing content. Melanie Few and Super Bowl Soulful Celebration. That was our first transaction. I'm going to talk about that. Brandon Frame created something called the Black Man Can. You know what else I love about this? I'm going to make them millionaires too. Right? I'm going to make them millionaires too. because I'm tired of seeing the story about black men is always negative. That's not true. It's not always true. And then Carmen Wilson calls something about women in sports. So this is the model. You love when you learn something, when you sit and pay attention, ask questions, use data. So all I have to do is find an amazing platform. I go buy time on CBS or Lifetime or BET. I have the power to do that. And then I own all those commercial units. So I take that to Coke. Oh, these are all my friends too. I know every CMO. I was with Carla Hassan last night from CMO. She's amazing. So, and then I go buy the distribution, and my team sells the content. And then what I do is I deliver them revenue opportunities to sell to these audiences that I'm gathering in one place. 7 different. But I literally, because I was so bogged, I couldn't see it. I couldn't understand it. I didn't understand the business model. And you're going to understand when I get down to the end of this presentation why that's really relevant for an organization like the Urban League. So Super Bowl Soulful Celebration, we honored Damar Hamlin and C.J. Stroud and Marquise Bell. We told some amazing stories. 1 hour on Saturday night on CBS. I bought the time. Cost us a couple of dollars, but the NFL helped us because it's in partnership. And the woman who created this is the only black woman who has an NFL sanction. There are 4 sanctions. She has one of them. Amazing. But this is what we're able to do. Triple the audience, because we know when you have something good, people want to come. We had 100 million social impressions. We had 2,000 people on the thing. The other beautiful thing about this is that we invited people to come that couldn't even afford to have a Super Bowl ticket, but they could see these football players in Las Vegas on a Wednesday night when we aired a Saturday night. The best thing, I grew CBS's audience by 300% for an audience that doesn't normally go to them. It's a powerful business model because when you have good content, it's good. So now you have a cause, and I built a company on it. I had a cause. When my dad died, I told him I'd make him proud of me. I would continue the legacy that he started on that corner, giving back to community with scholarships. I'm just doing it in a much bigger way. Right? The Urban League has an amazing cause. Let's talk about that. You guys know the mission. Enable, empower African Americans to hope, dream, give them resources, gather people to talk about economic stability, right? But how do you reframe and make that hope and dream measurable? So yes, you're going to have sponsorships, you're going to have events. That's subjective and declining. It just is, right? Donations are still going to be going. There's still, people that have good intentions. Some, a few. But do I want to rely just on that? Subjectivity. We know that sponsorship dollars are declining because when the biggest marketer in the world says everything has to be run through media because I need to have measurement when I'm thinking about my revenue, my bottom line. So how do we flip the narrative and framework for organizations? Now, I can't solve everyone's problem in here, but I can tell you this. I know this much, that content is king. Content is king. Who doesn't? Does everybody in here at least watch something? Everybody have a favorite show on Netflix? Some sports, somebody watch the Super Bowl, soccer, something, NASCAR, everybody's watching something. You may not want to raise your hand, but I know. And I can call your wives and find out. And I can call your kids and find out what you're watching. So I'm on the Urban League website. I said, let me see success stories. Some amazing success stories. Loans to somebody, they built a business. Other stories about, and then I tried to expand the search, but it's just living on the Urban League website. I'm like, this can't be so. It's not possible, because they have to know content is king, right? So then, how do you create amazing opportunities that live on forever, to tell a story forever, to impact forever, to have measurability? So then I said, well, let me see if there's an Urban League Films. Right? Then I said, let me see if there's an Urban League TV. Productions? How are we not capturing the stories that move people to give us more? How are we not telling the stories nationwide, worldwide, on Netflix the stories are right in front of us every single day? My daughter can't even get into her classrooms because they're protesting on the Harvard campus. And they protest all day, but let my baby girl get the, because I still got to sit in that check. Don't prohibit her from taking her final. Okay? Protest on that lawn over there. We have to shift how we think. We have to take ownership of our outcome. We sit in rooms and we watch other people build and grow and use technology and tell stories. When we started the story, we marched for the story. We should tell the damn story and own it everywhere. And let advertisers pay to reach the people that are coming to watch it, supporting. It's the business that we are in. Not just me, all of us. And if there is one person in here that hasn't seen a commercial and said, I'm going to buy that, go on Instagram, it popped up in your feed and then press the button. Everybody. It's the biggest business in the world. Technology just moves the content along. Technology just gives access to audiences. So I stopped by Madison. It wasn't an easy commute. Okay? My room was comfortable, though. To tell you that it's good to dream. It's good to have hopes, but it's better to have a plan and execute. It's better to stand on our power and own our stories and use them and send them and bring people along. UW Health, it's great to be in the room, but you don't think they want to tell success stories about how we're living healthy lives, whatever their brand mission is. Some of that $900 billion needs to flow through here in your company. So I don't know what you do, but your cause needs to be whatever that is too. Because it's important and it's worthy and it cannot be denied. It can't be stopped. People can't stop funding for it. They can't create legislation against it because this business will not die. Transacting business will not die. Cannot be stopped. Can't be stopped. So I stand here today to say, turn your cause into content and let your story live on and measure it and gather people's data and information so that you can really have a movement nationwide about what's going on in the world and let people see it instead of keeping it contained in one small space, right? Because what does the word say? Without vision, the people will. Come on now. Somebody goes to church on Sunday. In 6 months, I built a business doing exactly this. A good business. My husband was like, don't quit that job. I was like, I'm telling you, it's going to be okay. So I hope that I shared something today. I hope that my message and me standing in the crowd was better than Leroy. I'm so competitive. And I hope that when you leave here, you understand that you should really sit down and think about what you're doing and how you're doing it and who you're working for and who you're serving. Because I can tell you that the assignment's not done over every single person. And your destiny is not over and your purpose is not fulfilled because as long as you're breathing, it's not done. So thank you for having me. I hope this was helpful. I hope where's Mr. Lee? Where's my friend Mr. Lee, who rolled up on me in Brooklyn and said, come to Madison. Thank you for having me today. Jessica, thank you. And Shiva, thank you. Thank you for having me. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's give Michelle another round of applause. Thank you for coming to Madison, Michelle. And now I have the privilege of introducing a key partner in our mission to foster economic opportunity and growth within our community. Deputy Secretary Sam Rikers of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation. Deputy Secretary Rikers' leadership with the WEDC has become a cornerstone tenet for the work in economic development, but also a literal tenet in the Urban League's Black Business Hub. The partnership exemplifies WEDC's commitment to creating inclusive economic prosperity across Wisconsin, especially in underserved communities. Deputy Secretary Riker has been instrumental in his collaboration, driving initiatives that not only support the state's economy, but ensure growth in accessibility and equity for all. His efforts, along with WEDC, have provided invaluable support to the Black Business Hub, helping us turn a vision into a thriving, entrepreneurial, diverse community into reality. Together, we are laying down the foundation for a future where economic opportunity knows no boundaries and where every individual has the resources and the support to succeed. Please join me in welcoming Sam Riker forward. Come on up, Sam. Where you been, Sam?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thanks for allowing me a couple of minutes just to be here. You guys are ahead of schedule by 4 minutes, Ed. Thanks a lot. Right? It's a great thing, always. I'm so excited to be here. This is such an important and awesome conference, and this is the first time that the Urban League of Greater Madison MadREP Summit on Economic Development and Diversity is happening as WEDC, your state's economic development agency, is a proud one of the anchor tenants of the Black Business Hub on South Park Street. Part of economic development, and certainly part of making a more diverse and more inclusive state, leans on relationships and showing up. And these are two things. I'm going to brag on those two partners that I just mentioned. Well, we are partners in a whole host of ways with the Urban League of Greater Madison. We are been long-term partners with MadREP. And it's through those relationships that we've been able to do a lot. But without those relationships and without those partners pushing your state's economic development arm to show up, we wouldn't be in a couple places. We wouldn't be the anchor tenant or one of the anchor tenants of the Black Business Hub. Were it not for relationships that we already had and had built over years with Ruben Anthony, with Ed Lee, and with other members, we wouldn't have had the relationships just to explore the idea. We wouldn't have had the trust to really understand what that could look like for WEDC. If we didn't have, sometimes those relationships feel really good when you have good relationships, and sometimes good relationships mean you get pushed by people who you have a close relationship with. One of the things that we celebrate at WEDC, and I think the state, especially in this region, is that we've been designated in the last 12 months as a regional tech hub for biohealth. It's a pretty exciting thing, a lot of opportunities on the horizon, we hope, and we know the strength of that. We wouldn't have been a leader and pushed that to the same degree were it not for folks like Jason at MadREP to really push WEDC not just to be a partner, but also to do more. And so it's a really great thing about when you build relationships, they can help you show up and sometimes push you to show up. And that's what good relationships are all about. At WEDC, we like to say that we are having a moment in Wisconsin right now. Probably every incumbent of any role thinks that you're having a moment when you're in that position. But we really feel it in Wisconsin as you look to some of the things that are happening across the state, whether it's the light that is shined on our state through Top Chef. Who here has watched any of the Top Chef work? A bunch of folks. It's pretty exciting for Wisconsin. The NFL draft, guess what? That's coming to our hallowed Lambeau Field in Green Bay next year. We've spent a lot of time in the last 6 to 12 months working with and celebrating a massive investment by a blue chip company, Microsoft, in southeast Wisconsin, and what that means for that part of the state, what that means for artificial intelligence for our state and our manufacturers. We've had a bunch of wins. 8 days ago, 9 days ago, we got to celebrate $62 million grant from EPA to help push solar deployment across low to moderate income families all across the state. So lots of things were happening that help tell us that we're having a moment. But what's cool is that I think that the same can be said, and I bet I've missed the morning, but I'm sure that it has been said that Madison, and particularly, in my opinion, South Madison, where we call home now, is also having that moment. From the launch of the Black Business Hub on South Park, whether it's the opening of the new Centro Hispano, whether it's the Center for Black Excellence on the south side of Madison. Not the last time, but one of the last times I got to be in the same space with Dr. Anthony and the mayor, who I know is here this morning, was at Madison College's South Campus. Because there, as many of you know, the city and partners were saying, hey, childcare is really important to all folks across this region, and we're going to open up a childcare facility in the fire station and move that across the street. And so some really good things are happening both around the state, but I think, and we're having a moment, but I think Madison, and particularly South Madison, from my perspective, is going through the same time. That doesn't mean that we rest or sit on our laurels, though, right? I'm going to end with this, which is we work really closely with a couple of economists, one in particular, Tessa Conroy. She's at our university system, or the University of Wisconsin Extension team, and she came out with a report. She's an economist, and described how that if entrepreneurs of color in Wisconsin own businesses at the same rate that entrepreneurs who are white in our state own businesses, we would have an increased revenue in our state of $4.5 billion. And that would generate an additional 150,000 jobs. So having a moment, whether you're in South Madison or in the state of Wisconsin, certainly does not mean that you've hit some plateau, right? We have a ton of work to go, and we're just happy we have relationships and partnerships that help us do things and push us to show up. So thank you for the opportunity to be here, Dr. Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam, Deputy Director. We appreciate you traveling here today and sharing your experience and wisdom. And just a quick shout out to Sam. Sam mentioned sometimes we all push and pull each other. And to WDC and the hard work they do, none of this stuff is easy, you all. But it is a partnership. And I recall when MadREP had the privilege to hand out $12 million in Main Street Bounce Back grants. If I could be honest with you all, I didn't really want to do it because it was just work. And it was tiring, and we're bandwidth. And Sam sort of, said, Jay, come on, man. And so thank you, Sam, and to my team and to Ruben for, again, that push-pull, you all. A part of that is leadership. It's not always pretty, but as long as we can get the work done. Thanks, everybody.